Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for watching. This show is all about giving you insights and showcasing brands that help you to live your best life and give you confidence. As always, I want to kickstart your morning with some motivational advice to help you to feel inspired and energized to start your day. Today, I want to talk about the importance of getting comfortable stepping into the unknown. Every day we have the choice to make the same old decisions that are familiar and comfortable, or to change things up and try something new that we've never done before. Sure, initially making a decision to choose to do something unfamiliar might feel uncomfortable or scary at first, but one thing is for sure, that experience will push you out of your comfort zone. The reality is, it's rare to experience or learn something new when we can predict what will happen. On the contrary, it's only when we make the bold decision to try something new that we can truly evolve and grow. Though it may feel initially uncomfortable when we go outside our comfort zone, it's the fastest way to supercharge our growth and learn something new about ourselves. It's only when we push ourselves out of our comfort zone that we learn how capable we really are. Make your mission today to make a decision to do one thing that you've always wanted to do, but we're putting it off because it felt unfamiliar. As Alan Rufus quotes, "Unless we take that first step into the unknown, we will never know our own potential." Coming up after the break, let's talk about your role as Raka in Kingdom of the Planet Apes. Tell us about your character and his influence in the movie.
Raka serves as the sort of bridge of history. So the last three films, centered around Caesar and his growth and like his sort of journey, and the apes coming into consciousness, like the expansion of their consciousness and growing. Meanwhile, the human beings are sort of on the descent. And Raka in this new, sort of era, 300 years later or so, like many generations past Caesar's death, like Raka represents that legacy of Caesar that, apes shall not kill apes, apes together strong, and apes and humans live side by side. And so he's a bit of a, like the not a pacifist per se, I mean more like an archaeologist, I think, because the world is splintering now. Like apes have different clans all over the place, and a lot of apes don't know anything about Caesar, who was the first elder, as they call him. And so Raka represents like this voice of reason.
Wardrobe provided by Le Chateau. Next up on the show, we have Peter Macon, who plays Raka in the 2024 movie Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
Really good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you. We have a lot to talk about. Before we get into the success of Planet of the Apes, I want to talk about your journey in the industry. When did you realize your passion for acting?
I think I was about 15. I mean, I'd been doing school plays and stuff, second and third and sixth grade and stuff, but I didn't really know that you could be a professional actor until I was about 15, and I went to go see a show, a production of The Rainmaker at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, where I went to high school. And the actors came out after the play, and we had a question and answer session. And I was like, wait a minute, you can do this for a living? You can pay to do this, and you can. And it was actually in that exact theater that I fell in love with becoming an actor. And then I think about 12 years later, 15 years later, I was in that same theater playing the lead role in a production of Oedipus. And I was like, and I went and found the seat. I was like, this is that seat that I sat in, and I was like, being an actor. So it's been decades of the love of the craft.
Yeah, so, and I know that you went to the Yale School of Drama, which not a lot of actors can say they have their masters in acting. How do you think that experience shaped you into the actor you are today?
It was really amazing because I worked professionally for about 13 years. And then I moved to New York and was really struggling finding anything to work on that was, like that had any quality to it. And I was getting really frustrated and burnt out on trying to survive being, an actor. So a friend of mine was in the program, and he said, you should audition for the school. You probably get in. And I did, and I got in, and it was great. And so for 3 years, all I did was study. So all I did was, did like crazy plays. We did 3-person Hamlet. At one point I was doing 5 different plays at one time. And it was just a rigorous, 2 years of clown class, which was, the most difficult and humiliating and rewarding class I've ever taken. So, and so I could just train and just work and not worry about like how I'm gonna, pay the rent. And I could just submerge myself in studying all kinds of different theater and all kinds of different playwrights and all kinds of different styles of and methodologies of acting. So when I got out, it was like you can do anything. You know what I mean? You can, dialects or whatever you need to do, you can do it.
I love that. I love that you were a student of the industry before getting into it. I think that's amazing. And that's what makes you such a great actor. And before Kingdom of the Planet Apes, I know you were in a lot of different shows. You were in Law and Order, Dexter. For you, what's been the most memorable role you've had so far?
This one's really fresh with me right now. Like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And I think it was one of the most difficult things that I've ever got the opportunity to do in terms of, a talking orangutan is a tall order.
I can imagine, yeah.
It was not easy to do, and we had really wonderful training with Ape School with Alain Gauthier, who was actually Canadian. He lives in Montreal, but he was the artistic director for Cirque du Soleil for a long time, and he was our movement director. So we had 6 weeks of Ape School, which was unpacking the physiognomy of apes and the differences between like the skeletal structures of apes and human beings, and learning how to, inhabit an ape's body with arm extensions, because apes have much longer arms. So that was, it's pretty fresh with me, and I've seen the movie like 6 or 7 times, and I'm still amazed. But there's also that, and then I played Macbeth in William Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth for about 10 months. And that was pretty amazing in that, you live in the character, like the skin of a character for that long. Everything becomes like second nature. We had some amazing fights. And it was really beautiful and tragic. And so, but getting to do that for that long, that's up there too. Played Othello like 4 times, and I don't know that I ever want to do that again, but I might. But yeah, so yeah, there's some memorable ones, and then that's one of the greatest things about being an actor is that we get to inhabit other people's skins. You know what I mean? Yeah. We get to get inside the psychology and the psychosis of, and it really, gives a lot of information about the human condition. So like I have a lot of compassion for lots of different walks of life, because I've had to inhabit those spaces without judgment, Yeah. So playing a sociopath, like the sociopath doesn't think that he's a sociopath, So, I mean, I just developed a lot of compassion for the human experience through the work. So that's been the most rewarding aspect of it. And so now I feel like I have all this compassion for orangutans.
And fast forward, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your role as Raka in Kingdom of the Planet Apes. Tell us about your character and his influence in the movie.
Raka serves as the sort of bridge of history. So the last 3 films, centered around Caesar and his growth and like his sort of journey, and the apes coming into consciousness, like the expansion of their consciousness and growing. Meanwhile, the human beings are sort of on the descent. And Raka, in this new, sort of era, 300 years later or so, like many generations past Caesar's death, like Raka represents that legacy of Caesar, that, apes shall not kill apes, apes together strong, and apes and humans live side by side. And so he's a bit of a, like the not a pacifist per se. I mean, he's more of like an archaeologist, I think, because the world is splintering now. like apes have different clans all over the place, and a lot of apes don't know anything about Caesar, who was the first elder, as they call him. And so Raka represents like this voice of reason. When we meet Raka, when Noah meets Raka, he literally falls from the sky, and he meets him at a time. Actually, they both meet. When they meet, like the masks, the Proximus Caesar camp. They've destroyed Noah's village, and they've also destroyed my apprentice, who was my village. And so I'm alone, and Noah is alone. Raka and Noah are alone. So they meet each other at this really, significant time and decide to pair up and go on this journey together. So I think that by the time Noah meets Raka, he really needs this guidance, and Raka explains to Noah that the world is much bigger and much more diverse than you realize, because the Eagle clan, where Noah comes from, his character, like they're very myopic in their worldview. In that, they're sort of libertarian in the sense of like they stay to themselves, and so when the two of them meet, Noah is learning a lot about the world, and Raka is more than happy to teach him, because that's what he loves to do. He loves to, he's curious about human beings, and we call them the herds, and the herds of humans, because humans are feral at this point, and he's just. He inhabits like this airport, and he's just trying to unlock the mystery of like the human existence. And now, ironically, he can talk, but he can't read, right? Mm. So, and I think that, like in life that we see it now, myths and fables tend to outlast, or they outlast the truth, or the truth gets sort of reshaped to whatever narrative that fits our story at the time. And so, the irony behind Raka's quest to understand human beings is that he doesn't really understand that humans caged apes. Mm-hmm. And like he's just trying to figure out like how did these humans build all these amazing things, but yet they're feral and they can't talk. So he doesn't really understand what happened with the virus, because there's so much time that's passed. So there's a little bit of irony mixed into his character too, in that he's a little bit naive. But he's very much he's very curious, and he's like a sort of nutty professor, that crazy old science uncle that you have, scientific uncle scientist. So yeah, I mean, and he is, like, as I said, coming back to what I originally said, he's this bridge that spans this new world and the world that was of Caesar. Which is, started this whole saga off in the first place. So. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people think, okay, well, maybe if, because, the original 68 movie took place in like 3020 something. So maybe like this is like, Raka is like Dr. Zaius's ancestor, if you really want to nerd out on the Apes franchise. But, he's a unique character in all four films. Like, I mean, in all of the films, like this is like, of course you have Maurice, from the original films, that was very compassionate and heroic and helped save a lot of the apes. But Raka is like he's like Maurice 2.0. He's like so and he brings a little bit of humor into the film at a time where I feel like the film needs we need a laugh at that point. So it was just a joy to get to know him. He kind of reminds me of my father-in-law. He's like, he's like this sage. So yeah, that's sort of Raka in a nutshell.
I know that motion capture was used to obviously, get the essence of the character and merge it with the actor. How did you kind of bring your own personality to Raka?
Well, as I said, we had like the 6 weeks of Ape School, which was enormously helpful. And then we had to layer on speaking, right? So, apes have different anatomy. And I imagined over the years, like, a lot of imagination work, first of all. But like, sometimes I had to edit my text, because I thought like, this sounds too colloquial, too human. This is, he's not been speaking forever. So just, and also to make it more ape-like. And, then of course, once we got onto set, normally when you do a film or television, you can go back to Video Village and look at the playback and sort of adjust your performances accordingly. And we can do that with this because we hadn't been rendered as apes. We go back to look at the playback and it's just you yourself in a performance capture suit. So ultimately, that was a bit of a struggle, and it was a bit frustrating trying to figure out how I can, continue to shape and mold my performance. But at the end of the day, it took me back to the stage. It took me back to the theater in that we just got to let it go and forget that we were wearing all of this gear and be in the scene with your scene partner. And because you can't go back on when you see a play, you can't. Oh wait, stop. Let's do the part again. You can't do that. Just keep going forward. So. It took me back to that place, which then once I realized that things got just really easy because I just I'm on the stage, I'm doing what I know how to do best, and not worry about not worry about what my performance looks like, just and get out of my head and get away from my own vanity. Not that it's vanity, but you just, you get insecure. You don't know if you're doing it. You don't know if you're doing a good job or not. So you just ultimately have to trust the director, Wes Ball, and trust the technicians around you that they're getting what they need. And you just, a wise actor asked me once, it's like, how do you know if you've had a good show? And I said, I don't know. He said, you ask your scene partner if it was good for them. And if they had a good time or if they got what they needed, then that means that you were doing what you needed to do. And so ultimately, we just did that. And it just felt like it was in a play, so you had to ignore all of this equipment that you have on your body and fans and things like that. And it's extremely hot, and but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. And Planet of the Apes is such a big franchise. So many diehard fans. What's it been like being part of this franchise?
Strange, really strange. Wonderful. Because it's not something that I was thinking about while we were doing it. I was just concerned about making the character as three-dimensional as possible. And then, at the premiere, there were people Speeder, and I was like, but yes, this is a huge, I think it's one of those things that's just going to take a while to sink in. And I think when my boys are old enough to see it, we'll watch it together and maybe look at some of the old films and stuff like that. And it'll just be, 10, 15, 20 years from now, to go and look back on it, to be part of this legacy. It's an honor, it's just to be a part of film history. I mean, this will be, the talking orangutan will be around forever. So that's a little daunting, but, it's pretty cool to have something, I just want to be useful in the world. Right. And it's nice to feel that, I'm part of, I'm a huge science fiction nerd, and it's nice to be a part of something that inspired me when I was really young. When I saw this movie, the '68 version, I swore that apes could talk, and I would go to the zoo and I would sit there all day waiting for them to just give me one little word, just one something, anything, And, so I remember that as a 6-year-old kid now, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool to be a part of that. I wonder what my 6-year-old kid himself would say about Raka. So that it's
Wow.
really fun to think about it in those terms, and I can't wait to share it with my own sons. But yeah, it's really cool to be part of this and getting to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, life came full circle. You thought apes could talk, and then you play a talking ape. It doesn't get any more ironic than that, right?
I mean, you can't write that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Peter, I created my platform to inspire, to uplift, and really to be a beacon of light in the world so that anyone watching will be inspired. So I want to ask you, what are some challenges that you face when getting into the industry, and how did you face them?
I say, first and foremost, I absolutely love and have loved being an actor or inhabiting different psyches, or just being a creative, like I'm a painter and play music, but I love it. And it's because I love it that I'm able to withstand the dips and rises, because it can be incredibly frustrating. You really have to sort of have a spiritual or some sort of groundedness, like seeing like a perspective. It's hard, sometimes not going for stretches of time and not work. And I absolutely need to do it. Otherwise I kind of start to break down or feel useless. Cause I can't really do anything else. So, and as I said, because I love it, those times when you do find work that's challenging and that's, inspirational and invigorating, it sort of erases all of the bad times. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so and just understanding that it ebbs and it flows, and it has been doing that my entire career. Every time I work, I swear I'm never going to work again. And then I get something, so I'm sort of in that phase, like waiting for the next, but I mean, I'm also creating my own work too. So that's something that I've learned through this, is to not let myself get too, I don't know, internalizing there's so many moving parts to this industry, and it's always changing. It's always, like rules are always changing, unions are always changing, like the relationships with the studios are always changing, the economy is always changing, politics are always changing. So it's always, it's never a fixed thing anyway. And so because I love the work and there was no work, my phone wasn't ringing, I'm working on my own, series, actually 2 different projects. So, because I love it and I have to do it. So, yeah. I mean, and that's what I say to anybody who endeavors to be a filmmaker or an actor or any kind of artist. You have to love it. You have to love it. You have to need to do it. And if you don't, that's okay. Find something else to do, because the frustration is not worth it if you don't love it. So yeah. I actually love, as much as I hate saying this, I love the frustration, because the frustration creates like problem equals opportunity to me, and the frustration is something that keeps me balanced and going. So even when really great things happen, I think that's great, and when bad things happen, I'm like, okay, so I just try to keep myself in the middle, like on the pendulum, because it's a marathon. Like I have my father-in-law. I met him. I think he was like in 70, 75. This is before he introduced me to his daughter. So, I mean, I knew him for a year and he didn't say anything. I was thinking I was being sized up. But my point is that, he now is retired and he's 80 something. So, I've been getting paid to be an actor since I was 18 years old, and that was many, many moons ago. So I guess I just love it so much that I can take the lumps, I can take the and it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. Like I get a little grumpy, but it's about finding, having, other things, or doing your own work, or not taking yourself so seriously, and studying. I would have a time to read and analyze films and study films and read different plays and stuff like that. So, I stay in it. You got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But, I appreciate that you created this to have like this discourse, because it's so, sometimes like I'll see something like this and that'll help me get through my day, when I'm really struggling, right? When I'm really struggling, when I feel like I'm useless, I'm washed up, I'm never going to work again, or whatever, or I'm just feeling like insecure or whatever. I just need some inspiration. It's just so helpful to hear other people talk about their process. It's all, we're all kind of, doing the same the same thing, for the same reason, I think. And like inspirational content is, I don't really watch anything else but that.
Yeah.
I'm like so just like bummed about what's happening in the world that I don't have the bandwidth for I just need to stay on an inspiration diet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's helping me out right now, because like it's like things that are beyond my control. I feel things very deeply, and it can get a little nutty to just be feeling all that stuff. So I'm just putting myself on an inspiration diet. that's
the best diet to be on, right? Is the inspiration diet. And I love that you said it's been your passion that's really fueled you. I think that's for anybody that goes on to do anything great. It's the passion, right? It helps you. When you have passion, you can endure a lot, because you have tunnel vision, right? You see the goal, and it doesn't matter what's happening around you. You know that you're going to reach that goal no matter what, because you have that determination, right? And passion.
For sure.
And I love that you said that you also created your own opportunities. I think that's so amazing for people to hear. As successful as you've been, you've also created your own opportunities. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a whole lot. And learning. Like someone said, the only way you're going to learn how to make a film or a series or whatever is to do it. And I'm learning so much. And I'm so excited about it. And like, just side note, Questlove from The Roots, he said, be absolutely stubborn about your dreams, but be flexible about how you attain them.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
Yeah, so that's, and that's the thing of like, well, you have to pivot. Like if it's not working here, you got to try this. If it's not working there, you got to try this, and just keep, because if it is, I need to do this, I have to do this, I will do this, and I won't not do it.
Yeah.
Then things get done. You know what I mean? And if you work really hard and you just stay dedicated and focused and disciplined, which, discipline, I mean, that's one of the hardest aspects of the whole thing, is showing up every day. And when you don't feel like you have it in you to do it, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
So, amen, sister.
Peter, what else are you currently working on? I know you said you have some other projects going on right now. So what else are you working on?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a clothing line that I'm working on. I have a series that I'm going to start shooting my first installment in July, like in about a month. It's today, but it's something like the 16th or something like that. Today's the 13th. So yeah, on July 16th, in about a month, we'll start working on that. And then I have like this, an animation that I'm writing with a scientist friend of mine. So, it's all, stay tuned. It's all like, and it's all on the stove. You know what I mean? It's nothing like, I haven't tried to pitch or sell any of it to anyone yet. I'm just creating it, and we'll see from there. But I think it's going to be pretty, both the series, the live action series and the animation series, I think are going to be pretty groundbreaking,
I'm sure it will be. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations on all your success. It's amazing, and I can't wait to see what else is in store for you.
So great chatting with you. Thank you very much.
The Darriel Roy Show is available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.